Oh, let's do some Femcel content. I didn't know this was a thing, and I assumed I got one email and it's whatever, but now I got a second email about this, and I'm gonna read you both of these emails. How many Middle Eastern fans do I have here? Middle Eastern and then Eastern European people. Apparently Eastern European and Middle Eastern men are horrible. But here we go. Oh, actually, this is about India even, so who knows? I don't know. Let's read. I wanted to email you about how bad Comrade Cam's example about living with parents is. I don't know how much you care about this topic, so I'll try to keep it short. I'm a 23 male from India, a country where most people live with their family for their entire lives. I lived with my parents till I finished college, 21 years old, moved to another city for a year and a half due to job requirements, and now I'm back home. I have a decent enough experience to talking to people and observing what happens to answer a couple questions you posed to the panel and talk about some issues I had with Comrade Cam's takes on how the Middle Eastern culture varies from Western culture. Wait, is India part? India is way too far east to even be part of the greater Middle East, no? Maybe they'd still considered Middle East culture, not Asian culture, or South Asian? I don't know, whatever. Maybe he's making it white friendly for me. Do the children who live at home pay rent, cook their own meals, etc.? Nope, no one pays rent to their parents. Even suggesting you pay rent or something like that would anger a lot of parents, since they regard it as their duty to take care of their children as long as they're able to work. As for cooking... Oh, sorry. Hold on, I got distracted. As for cooking, it depends on gender roles. If you're a man, you live a very comfortable life. Okay, so this is the trend. If you're a man, you live a very comfortable life. You don't have to do any household chores, you don't have to cook, etc. All you have to do is go to work, come back home, eat, watch TV, and sleep. If you're a woman, you're made to help your mother with the household chores, cook meals for your family, as well as go to work and make money. This is true for more than 95% of families here. There are exceptions to this. Case in point, in my family, where I like to cook, do chores, etc., but my female cousins who live with me and are older than me don't like to do so and hence don't. Okay, so there are some exceptions. I'm just skipping one paragraph to the next. It's a nice expectation to have that people who live with their parents should be independent on that stuff, but the funniest part was giving the Middle East as an example. This family structure is a huge reason why there are a lot of harmful stereotypes about gender going on here. There are many women who complain about not being able to find a man who's able to take care of himself, and it's largely true because men are babied here. Women are made to work their asses off, and it largely doesn't change because they're never in a different environment from the one they grew up in. I moved to a city which has a sizable migrant young population due to a large number of tech companies being there, and it amazed me to see people actually being able to make their own decisions, live on their own, cook for themselves, and not be man-children babied by their mothers. I emphasize with the women who get married because they have to go live with the family of a man who's been babied by his own parents and can't take care of himself. Using the Middle East as an example is a fucking joke because I would imagine that he would also argue against all of these harmful stereotypes propagated by such a system. From my personal experience, read, I have no data on this. It seems that people who live alone also propagate less of these stereotypes, etc., etc. Okay, so that was an interesting take. I was like, okay, maybe that's just his experience, but I got this email a while ago. I'd gotten another email. This was in May, and I never read this one on stream. But this dives into that a lot more, which was interesting. The subject was a schizo email from a woman that hates men. Hello, Destiny. I'm a 23-year-old female from Eastern Europe, and I want to share my experience with men. In my country, women are expected to work just as much as men because we used to be a communist country, but they are supposed to all do the housework and take care of the children by themselves as well. When men get home from work, they drink alcohol, watch TV, and rest. When women get home from work, they have to cook for the entire family, clean, and take care of the kids. They work the same 8 hours per day, just like men do. Since the mother is the main caretaker and parental figure for the children, she gets to decide quite a lot of things about how to raise them. Women know that life is much shittier for them, so they treat their sons and daughters very differently. When the mother has a son, she's usually quite happy. He's going to have an easier life and there's nothing to worry about. She'll do anything for him because he's a male. She won't expect much from him. His existence is enough, and she's ready to do anything for even the slightest amount of his male attention and affection, probably something she never had in her life. When she has a daughter, though, things are much different. The mother knows that her daughter is going to have a hard time. She then decides to prepare her for how cruel the world is. Her daughter has to be perfect at school. She has to help around the house all the time since a very young age, and she needs to fulfill all of her mother's professional ambitions that she couldn't fulfill herself because she decided to have a family. As a result, men grow up to be very lazy. They don't care much about anything, and they don't worry about anything. They always expect someone to take care of them. They're arrogant, ignorant, and insanely boring people. They believe that they are by default better than women because they're used to their mothers fulfilling every single one of their requests and always telling them how perfect they are. Women become smart, responsible, and hardworking because they have massive problems with their confidence, because they always feel like they're not enough, and they are very neurotic. They take too much than they can handle, and they have massive breakdowns and mental health problems because they overwork themselves, but in general, they turn out to be more interesting, compassionate, and intelligent. In my entire life, I've experienced the same thing. Men have no interest, they don't care about anything, they can't have a conversation about anything interesting, but they treat me like I'm less of a human than they are. They keep talking about stupid shit like being the head of the household and how they should make all the decisions in a family because women are dumb and you shouldn't listen to anything they say, which ends up turning into a huge problem when they marry a smarter woman than them who's trying to explain financial decisions 101, but they won't just listen and put the entire family, but they just won't listen and they end up putting the entire family in trouble. There are some men who aren't that bad, but for each of those, there are 10 women fighting for their attention, and they end up with the worst God complex possible. Anyway, I hope this Schizo email helps to undo the evil spell from the male perspective one. I do have to say that you and my male friend who recommended me your channel saved me from my hatred towards men. Every time I get frustrated by how boring they are, I turn to your stream, and I still feel like there's hope out there. Thank you. Cute. I don't know if this is like a Middle Eastern thing, but when I got that second email, I was like, oh, interesting. I wonder if that is the case. I've heard this kind of thing cited as a reason for declining birth rates in countries like Japan. Women would rather live the rest of their lives single than deal with basically 2 full-time jobs. As an Eastern European, my experience is women run the household, but men have to repair everything and do what the women want. It's more of a matriarchal household. Here in Tunisia, most of the things the email said are true, but it's rapidly changing for the better. Last generation was insulated, but now most people have the internet, they're unironically getting more progressive by the day. What makes you think Eastern European and Middle Eastern culture are similar? Well, I got an Indian guy talking to me about Middle Eastern culture, even though he's Indian, and then this person was talking about Eastern European culture, but I noticed a big overlap between what this woman and the Indian guy said. I don't know if it's similar or not. I have no idea. That role dynamics also coming in Latin America? Oh, maybe. Eastern Europe is kind of big, so it depends on where they're from. Yeah, that is true. What is Eastern Europe? Eastern Europe can't include, like, does it include the Baltics and the Balkans? I feel like the Balkans are the Balkans. What does that mean when you colloquially say that you're from Eastern Europe? Could that be like all the way up from like Latvia down to as south as you can go? Does it include everything? Everything east of Germany. Colloquially, everything Poland and east. Okay, again, being forewarning, my history is not the greatest. Would I be insane to say that, not to start any race wars, would I be insane if I said that it feels like the Baltics are a much, 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 much nicer place to be, especially over the past 30 years than the Balkans? Or did I miss a bunch of like really fucked up shit happening in the Baltics? Am I wrong when I say that, or? I feel like in the Balkans, it feels like everybody hates every other person that's next to them, and has tried to genocide everybody at least once. But I could be wrong on that. I don't know. Whereas it seems like in the Baltics, they're just like, I'm glad we're not part of the Soviet Union anymore. Let's do our thing. But I don't know. I don't know shit about any of these countries. All right. Balkans were like a multicultural heaven on fucking earth for like 20 years, and it was the sickest thing ever. As long as you're not Albanian in Serbia or a Bosniak, you're probably fine. The Baltics got oppressed by the Germans and the Russians. People in the Baltics kill themselves, and in the Balkans they kill each other. In the Balkans, everyone's national hero is someone else's war criminal. Jesus Christ. Destiny, when people say Western culture, would you include Italy? My friend says yes. Yeah, I feel like Southern culture, I feel like Southern Europe is like Western Europe, but like a little bit more corrupt and a little bit darker skinned. But for the most part, it's not like they're, it's not like they're Ukraine or Romania. That's how I view it as an American. You've got like Northern Europe and like Scandinavia and quote unquote Western Europe is like the promised land. And then you've got like Southern Europe, which is like pretty good. And then you've got Eastern Europe where like the Baltics and Poland are fighting to be like, we were just like Western Europe. And then when you go south, everything is like fucked. Like that's my general. Romania is actually doing great compared to the rest of Eastern Europe. Well, it feels like every, I could be wrong, but it feels like every Eastern European country's goal is to be doing better than the rest of Eastern Europe. Like Polish people, like we are so much better than the rest of Eastern Europe. We've climbed out, we're doing well. Everybody up in the Baltics, anytime I talk about them, I get like people emailing, I'm from Estonia, we're the fastest growing economy in the world. We're way better than the rest of Eastern Europe. Ukraine is trying to break itself away from the massive corruption up until 20. It was the most corrupt country like the fucking world. Not to make fun of them, I mean, that's good, but like, it feels like I'm pretty sure when it came time to doing the NATO drafting shit, and we were like, which Baltic country do we accept? I think that's part of the reason why we had these huge rounds where we accepted a ton of countries. Because if we would have accepted just one country into NATO from the Baltics, they would have fucking killed each other. Or they all would have killed themselves. Like, we didn't make NATO, fuck! Like that, and that was part of the reason why we had like these huge rounds where we were bringing in like 4 or 5 or 6 countries or whatever at a time, is because we kind of had to, because if we start drawing lines around them, like people are going to be salty, unironically salty as fuck. I was talking Western world, not Western Europe. Yeah, but like Western world kind of include. Actually, I don't even know why they call it the Western world. Western is just kind of a dog whistle for like. I don't even know. White, maybe? Because, like, New Zealand and Australia would be considered part of the Western world. Even if people in chat question mark me, it would be, right? We think, like, Western... Yeah, like, Australia and New Zealand clearly fit there. And then, obviously, Western, Northern Europe, Scandinavia. South America wouldn't be, even though they're more west than, like, Western Europe. Like... Yeah, we say Western world, but it's like a, I shouldn't say dog whistle. It's just like a, I don't even know how, what. Yeah, I don't know. Western world doesn't mean west geographically, it just means the good part of the world. Yeah, true. Or true, that's what people say.